12 years. That's what the evening was about. 12 years of mornings half full of coffee and half lost in regret. 12 years of private jokes, late-night arguments, victories, silences, and Sundays where the city outside our window felt like it belonged only to us. We were Mr. and Mrs. Lowell now. The title worn smooth by habit, like a stone in a river. I adjusted my cufflinks, the one she gave me for our 10th anniversary, and stared at myself in the mirror of the suite's bathroom. The navy suit fit me a little too well these days. Stress will do that, wearing you down like tide over stone. Clarissa called from the bedroom. "Are you ready, darling?" I inhaled slowly, smoothing back my hair. "Coming?" When I stepped out, she was breathtaking. Red, always red. The same shade she wore the night we met. Her dress hugged her body with an effortless elegance. Her lips matched the wine she sipped lazily. She tilted her head, smiling as if everything was perfect, as if the quiet wars waged between us in the dead of night had never existed. "You look beautiful," I said. "You always say that when you're nervous." We laughed, and I wasn't sure if it was shared humor or something more jagged. Downstairs, the restaurant glittered like a jewel box. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen fireworks. Windows curved to reveal the sweeping cityscape. Every table a stage, every guest an audience. Clarissa's hand curled around my arm as we walked in, and already heads turned. She loved that. She loved the spectacle more than the intimacy. Our family and friends were waiting. My sister Marlene, her cousin Jared, college friends whose faces blurred in my mind. We exchanged hugs, toasts, polite laughter. I caught Clarissa stealing glances at her phone more than once. Old habits die hard. Dinner unfolded with course after delicate course. Wine flowed freely, laughter louder with each glass. Clarissa toasted me early. "To 12 golden years, my love." I clinked my glass against hers. Her hand was warm, her smile wide, but her eyes cold, calculating. When the dessert came, a small cake adorned with sparklers, Clarissa rose for another toast. Her voice rang clear, but the words felt rehearsed hollow. I excused myself under the guise of the restroom. No one noticed, except one. The hallway leading to the restrooms was dimly lit, a deliberate choice to create ambience, I supposed. Soft music spilled from hidden speakers, but the scent of citrus and waxed marble overwhelmed it. I moved slowly, not rushing. I needed a moment to breathe, to think, to remember why tonight mattered. Halfway down the corridor, a voice stopped me. "Sir, excuse me." I turned. A young woman in a black apron stood by the wall, half shrouded in shadow. Her name tag read Ava. "Yes?" I asked, masking my irritation. She stepped closer, glancing down the hall toward the dining room, then back at me. Her hands fidgeted with the hem of her apron. "I'm sorry. This is going to sound strange, but are you Mr. Lowell?" I hesitated. "I am." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I think your wife might have done something to your drink." The words didn't register at first. Or maybe they registered too quickly, too fully. I blinked. "What?" I saw her. Ava said in a rush. "When you stepped away earlier, she leaned over your glass. She dropped something in. It was small, like a capsule. I thought it was maybe a vitamin or something playful, but the way she did it," Ava shook her head. "It wasn't right. She looked around first. She was careful." The world tilted slightly. The floor seemed a little less stable beneath my feet. I forced a smile. "Are you sure?" Ava nodded, her eyes wide. "I wouldn't lie about this." The hallway pressed in around us. The cloying scent of polished marble turned my stomach. "Thank you," I said evenly. Years of boardroom negotiations kept my voice steady. "I appreciate your concern." She seemed relieved that I hadn't dismissed her as a lunatic. "If you want," she whispered, "I can get someone. Help you check." I shook my head. "No, I'll handle it." Ava gave a small nod and melted back into the shadows, leaving me alone with the roaring silence. I made my way to the restroom, locked myself in a stall, and gripped the metal walls until my knuckles whitened. Clarissa, my wife, my partner for 12 years, had slipped something into my drink, and she thought no one would notice. I splashed cold water onto my face, each droplet a slap back to reality. When I returned to the table, I wore a smile. Clarissa's face lit up as if nothing was wrong. I sat, careful, composed. Around us, conversation flowed like wine. I picked up my glass, feeling its weight, its invitation. Clarissa raised hers. "To us," she said. "To us," I echoed. But inside, a different toast was taking form, to truth, to betrayal, and to whatever came next. I held the glass in my hand, letting it tilt slightly, watching the ruby liquid catch the chandelier's cold light. Clarissa's gaze stayed locked on mine, steady and expectant. "Drink," her eyes said. Instead, I laughed. "To surprises," I said, then deliberately set my glass down. Clarissa's smile twitched just slightly. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But I did. Around us, the conversations blurred into meaningless noise. The clink of forks, the occasional peal of laughter, the muted jazz. I rose from my seat. "Excuse me," I said to the table. Clarissa's hand caught my wrist lightly. "Leaving so soon?" I smiled down at her, a rehearsed, tender smile. "Just a moment." The hallway was cooler, the air less oppressive. I moved swiftly to the sidebar where a second set of glasses were displayed for casual drinkers. An idea had taken root, dangerous, delicious. Ava was there, pretending to polish glasses. Her eyes met mine, wide with nerves. "Bring 2 glasses of wine." I murmured low enough for only her to hear. "Identical. Switch mine with hers when I give the signal." Ava hesitated, then nodded, understanding more than I said. Minutes later, back at the table, Ava returned with a flourish, offering a round of celebration glasses for the couple of honor. She moved like a magician, quick and clean. Clarissa didn't notice as her glass was swapped with a new one, the one she believed was mine. We lifted our glasses together. "To many more years," Clarissa said sweetly. I smiled and watched as she drank. At first, nothing happened. Clarissa continued to laugh, chatting animatedly with Marlene about some foolish memory from our college days. 10 minutes, 15. Then she blinked too long. Her words began to slur just slightly, like records spinning at the wrong speed. She reached for her water and knocked it over instead, splashing Jared's lap. "I'm so sorry," she mumbled, cheeks flushing. Jared waved it off, but I caught the flicker of concern in his eyes. Clarissa swayed slightly as she stood up. "Maybe some air," she muttered. I rose immediately, slipping an arm around her waist. "Come on, darling." Outside, the night was crisp and biting. Clarissa leaned heavily against me, her body slack, breath shallow. She tried to speak, to say something I couldn't quite catch. Her eyes widened, frantic. I held her tighter, murmuring comfort into her ear. Ava appeared a moment later, nodding discreetly. "Security footage is ready," she whispered. I nodded. Inside, the restaurant manager was waiting, his expression grave. Behind him, the head of security held a tablet. "Mr. Lowell," he said, "would you like to view something?" Clarissa tried to pull away, but stumbled. Together, we watched the footage. Clarissa, glancing around, dropping a small object into my drink. The manager looked at me sympathetically. "Do you wish to press charges, sir?" Clarissa's mouth opened and closed, searching for words that wouldn't come. Outside, sirens were already starting to wail. And I just smiled. Clarissa stumbled as 2 uniformed officers approached, their faces stern under the restaurant's glittering chandeliers. One of them, a woman with cropped hair and sharp eyes, spoke quietly into a radio clipped to her shoulder. "Mrs. Lowell?" the male officer asked. Clarissa tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. Her hand grasped at the air between us, pleading, trembling. "Please, there must be some mistake," she gasped. The officers exchanged a glance. The restaurant manager handed them the tablet, playing the damning footage. The room, once filled with laughter and celebration, fell into an eerie silence as diners craned their necks to watch. Clarissa's knees buckled. I caught her reflexively, feeling the heat of her body, the panic radiating off her skin. "I didn't," she choked. "You'll have a chance to explain everything," the officer said smoothly, almost kindly. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Marlene gasped audibly. Jared stood frozen, his mouth half open, as if words had abandoned him. Clarissa looked at me then, truly looked at me for the first time all evening. Her lips parted. "Ethan." I shook my head just once. She sagged in the officer's grip. They led her out through the main dining room. Heads turned, phones appeared. Flashing cameras immortalized her shame. I remained standing at the table, breathing steadily, watching. Jared approached, voice low. What the hell just happened? I turned to him slowly. She tried to hurt me. He looked stunned, almost comically so. No, not Clarissa. The footage doesn't lie, I said, allowing just a sliver of sadness into my tone. Marlene stepped beside me. Her hand hovered over my shoulder but didn't quite touch. Are you all right? She whispered. I am now, I murmured. At the police station, Clarissa sat across from me in a small interview room, her hair disheveled, mascara smeared. Why? I asked simply. She shook her head, lips pressed tight. Did you really think no one would notice? Her chin trembled. It wasn't supposed to be like this, no? I leaned forward. Then how was it supposed to be? A toast, a collapse, an ambulance ride, and me quietly slipping away. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I loved you, she whispered. Loved, I repeated, tasting the bitterness of the word. A knock sounded at the door. A detective leaned in. Mr. Lowell, we're ready for your statement. I rose without another glance at Clarissa. In the hallway, Ava waited, her face pale but resolute. You did the right thing, I said. She nodded. I just couldn't watch it happen. Neither could I. That night, back in our suite, I sat by the window, watching the city pulse below. The red dress Clarissa wore lay abandoned across the bed, as lifeless as the promises we once made. The wine glasses still sat on the side table, untouched since the toast. I picked up hers, the one that should have been mine, and turned it slowly in the dim light. So much planning, so much deceit, all undone by a single whisper in the shadows. I drank from it now, savoring the rich, bitter taste. To 12 years, to survival, to endings, and new beginnings. The trial came faster than anyone had anticipated. The prosecutors moved swiftly, armed with the damning footage, Ava's testimony, Liam's confession, and the security footage that made any defense look laughable. Clarissa sat rigid in the defendant's chair, her once vibrant features dulled by stress and sleepless nights. The courtroom was packed. Local news outlets had caught wind of the anniversary poisoning scandal, branding her the Scarlet Wife in bold headlines. I sat quietly behind the prosecutor's table, flanked by my attorney. Every once in a while, Clarissa's gaze would flicker to me, desperate, pleading. I met it with the same cold stillness that had saved me that night. The evidence was devastating. The footage showed her glancing around nervously, then slipping the capsule into my wine. Ava testified next, recounting how she had seen Clarissa's movements and felt something was wrong. The restaurant's manager confirmed the chain of events. Even Liam, in a bid for a lighter sentence, described being paid to keep quiet. Clarissa's defense tried to spin a narrative of stress, misunderstanding, love twisted into tragedy. But the facts crushed sentiment. After a short deliberation, the jury returned a verdict, guilty of attempted assault and conspiracy. When the judge pronounced the sentence, 8 years, no parole for the first 5, Clarissa sobbed openly. Her shoulders shook with grief. But not once did she look surprised. In the months that followed, life settled into something resembling peace. I filed for divorce and was granted full control of our shared assets. The court ruled that Clarissa's actions constituted marital misconduct on an unprecedented scale. Friends I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to check in. Invitations to charity galas and exclusive dinners flooded my inbox. It seemed survival, when done publicly and elegantly, had its rewards. At home, I remodeled the suite we had once shared. The red curtains Clarissa loved were replaced by cool blues and silvers. I gave away the jewelry she'd left behind, donated most of her designer clothes. Ava visited once, months after the trial. We sat across from each other in the new living room, a cautious friendship forming. "How are you really?" she asked. I thought for a long moment. "Lighter," I said at last. She smiled, sad but understanding. Before she left, she paused at the door. "You know," she said, "sometimes we survive things not because we're stronger than others, but because we see the blow coming." I nodded. "And we learn to duck." She laughed. And for the first time in a long time, so did I. One evening, standing by the window that overlooked the same city that had once watched our fall, I poured myself a glass of wine. To endings. To survival. To the clarity that only betrayal could bring. I toasted the night sky and drank deeply, the stars glinting like 1,000 cold, perfect witnesses.